Hey, Scott Russell. I did a video on children and divorce, and it's really had a lot of views. Up, for me, it's a lot anyway, 100,000 or so, up that way, and it's a lot of responses from people asking questions and thanking me for the video. So I wanted to do another one on love, unconditional love for kids. And one of my sayings through this whole divorce process is to live in the cracks. Because when you have a hostile ex, there will always be cracks. And the children want to be loved. They want to have contact with you. And when they're weaponized, they are scared to do that. And the other partner makes them feel like they are doing wrong to them if they if they have any contact with you. And so what I found is I had kids that would when my ex was away, would send me messages so she wouldn't find out. And and what she'd done is actually got the older boys to bully the younger kids into conformity. And so the younger ones were too scared, and one of them that now is a lion jumped ship and came across and with me is said to me, "Dad, if we had anything to do with you, we would be we would get into trouble." The whole culture was, you don't have anything to do with Dad. He doesn't exist. And so the children at various levels had to get through that. And one of my sons once said to me, who's now aligned, come across and is with me, he said, "Dad, at the time, but it took 3 years, we didn't really have anything to do with each other." Because he said, one of his last words were, "Dad, if you do what they say, what she says and what they say, they'll love you or they'll allow you to be around." And and I thought, well, that's not love. And now I was just going to be myself. I wasn't trying to teach my son a lesson. But in being myself, I would not come under that spirit. And it meant that in his life, I didn't see him pretty much for 3 years. And he would throw out little feelers and try to have contact. He said to me, "Dad, the highlight of my life, my time, was when I would have some sort of little thing from you." And even though what he was putting across was "stay away," and he said I had to do that as a child. He said, and he's a bit older now, he said, the whole culture, the mindset that they put into us was that we couldn't have anything to do with the ex. I mean, your dad's a bad person. And so ultimately he saw it for what it was. He was manipulated, and he saw that, and through a very bad act of manipulation, and he left. And now he's like, he's good because he says, "Dad, I thank you that one thing you showed me is to never think like a victim, even when you are." And he loves his mum, but he won't be around that manipulation. And until that changes, it's not going to happen. So I sent a message to another one at one time where it said, "Look, they were acting out, doing things, and I said, look, I want you to understand something. I love you. No matter what, your actions do not change my love for you." And this one didn't want to come around because I think they were ashamed of what they'd done, and in saying things about me. And I remember driving in the car with this one at one point, really the last contact I ever had, and was just said, "Look, you said things and you did things that could be seen as against me." And I said, "I want you to understand something. I forgave all of that when you did it. Yeah, it hurt." I said, "I'll be honest, some of that hurt, but I understood where you're at, and I want you to understand I love you no matter what." One of my daughters I saw her, and one day, and we were having she's on my shoulders, running around, having fun together. It's the last time I saw her. The next day I saw her was the last time. She turned up, got out of the car, and said to me, you never love someone that doesn't do what you tell them, and you never forgive anyone that doesn't do what you say." And I said, "Precious, the greatest gift you can give people is love and forgiveness." And that was the last I saw of her for probably 4 years. And so children get weaponized. The ex, of course, every ex always claims perfection in that, but they're shameful. They're messing with their own children's minds. So this one, I just said, look, I love you no matter what. And I said, you might have done things, said things, been things that you feel ashamed of and that I would be not happy with, but I want you to understand I love you no matter what. And I said, that's God's love for you. And it seems to be my whole life now since going through this, where everybody, I had a lady I liked, it was the same thing. She'd never experienced unconditional love. And they everybody gets circumstances and things around their life, and these children where they go off, they do things, they test the limits, and then somewhere in that they find that love. And I always like to say, you've got to live in the cracks. There will be cracks that appear because, I have 8 children, and so they can't keep that locked down. There's hope there. Sorry, I'm kind of lost track there of taking care of kids. But one of the things, unconditional love is showing them unconditional love, and it's almost like they all fall into a tunnel and they go away. And and I think an important thing to understand is it's not about you. It feels personal at the start. It feels very personal, and as things go on, it feels very personal. That it's they don't love you. It's not true. You've got to separate that out. You've got to say, you know what, they do love me. Their whole world was ripped away from them, and then the person that ripped it away became, the hand that rocked the cradle, as they said in the movie. That hand that rocked the cradle became the one that's trying to destroy them, because they can't see. That person cannot see what they're doing to their children, because they're in pain. They're using the children to try to ease their pain, and they're like, well, I don't like him, so you obviously can't like him either. And they have to come up with reasons and drama to try to keep these kids away from your life. Don't get sucked into taking it personal. Don't get sucked into it. And it's hard, I know. For me, I had to take it to God. And then when you get free of it, I understand now. My job is to be a rock, to be that spiritual rock, that when the children, and one by one, they pop out. As they pop out, they've been abused. One of the things is that the mother will allow them to do things in their life and then say, oh, your dad will never love you for that. And you can't be with him for that. And to try to control them to stay. And I've watched some of my children and the trauma that they've experienced through that very psyche, saying, when you do what I say, how I say, if I say, then you'll be loved and accepted. But if you don't, I will throw you away. And some of my sons had been discarded, thrown away because of that. They didn't do as they were dictated to. And it became, well, if you're not going to do what I say, get out of here. And if they had contact with me, then they were never allowed to come back. They were never allowed to re-establish contact. And so it's a lot of trauma for a child. And so I'm wanting to put across, without getting into any nitty-gritty details. And it's a hard video to do because I don't want to make it about offense. I just want to say to you that these things are real and they happen. And people don't want to talk about them because of the fear of what could happen. Well, nothing worse could happen. It's time we talked about some of this stuff and the games that these people play. And I think the other thing they do is they get people around their life that approve of that. They come up with some lie about their ex and how terrible that person is. I mean, for me, in my case, I was married for 28 years and there was no problem. And then all of a sudden she leaves, but then they go and they get everybody and they create this posse of people, and the ones that didn't agree with the story got blocked. And so now we have grown adults that are around that ex who is actually reinforcing the coercive abuse of the children. Where if the children try to reach out, instead of having somebody that can speak balance and life and love to them and say, yes, your dad loves you, they're all scared of what the ex will do, and so they shut up and they obey and come underneath that. And I've seen a lot of that. And I can tell you again that ultimately, yes, the children get hurt. Yes, you're going to have to watch your children from afar that have to come to terms with a lot of pain in their life. Love. Just keep loving. And what does that do? That doesn't mean you have to do things to show love. What I'm there like sending those messages occasionally as it comes up, or if it's right, I love you. No matter what you've done, no matter what you've said about me, no matter what you've done, I love you. And 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 that's something that's difficult because you're putting aside your own feelings. We have a desire and a need to be loved. And so we're like, well, I want them to love me. Well, I want to reassure you, once they pop out, and they do, they are completely love you. I have a grandchild that is on my lap, bouncing on my lap, and the parent of that child is saying, Dad, I don't want my child near that coercive control. I love Mum, I love what she is, but if she's going to act like this and try to turn everybody and everything against you for her own ends, I don't want to expose my child to that. And so ultimately, it's a long game. It's a long game of patience. But I want to encourage you, because if you watch this video, you're in some pain. You're in some pain, and you're watching your children. Maybe somebody else has moved in, and like in my case, somebody else has moved in with the ex, and and the ex is trying to make them the father or the mother or whatever. Well, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. And those relationships, they never last. And because it's not about love, it's about proving a point or getting at you or destroying or proving that, yeah, he's a bad person and look, this man's better or this woman's better. Don't get caught up on it, you know. I mean, for my ex, it's, you know, I love her, I forgive her. I'm not in love with her. I forgive her, and I'm like free of that. So when the kids come around, I'm not trashing their mum. You know, my daughter I picked up for the visitation the other day, and when she's here, she said how she went camping with her mum, and I said, that's awesome. Your mum loves you. So good that she took you camping, isn't it? Reinforcing the goodness of that, and they will come to love. Trust me, kids will come to love. Love is not an action; it's a state of being. That flows through into relationships. I mean, like I said, there's a woman that she's not in my life, but it's the same journey of understanding unconditional love. There's everybody, everything that is life. That's God. God allowed sin to be there to show us, because he said we're all going to mess up, and so we all mess up. And he says, yeah, now you're getting it. I love you anyway. I love you anyway. No matter what you're doing, come and be with me. Come and fellowship with me. And when we fellowship with God, or we fellowship with the Father's heart, the things that we're ashamed of and the things we've done just fall away. Don't make them a focus. When love is there, things fall away. A relationship, a lady, I don't want perfection. I want love. And when somebody says, yeah, I feel that love, I'm in that love, I want to take that journey of love with you. Yeah, they got things you don't like, and you're going to have things they don't like. But ultimately, as you take that journey, things will fall off of your life, because you go, you know what, I just love her. And I know she doesn't like that, so that'll go. She brings out my better than best. You bring out her better than best. And with your kids, bring out your better than best. By loving them, don't get in the offense. Stay away from the people that are going to feed it the drama and, you know, yeah, that's right, yeah, whatever. And because what happens as adults, they get offended, pull away and say, well, they'll find me when they want me. That's bull. No, you stay there and you live and you get a life going and be a spiritual rock that when they come, they feel the love, they feel the strength of who you are. They embrace the love and strength of who you are. They're forgiven. And forgiveness isn't an action, it's a state of being. So it's not like my son that was estranged from me for 4 years. Never spoke. He was the main one that was used in this, to the second eldest, to turn all the others. He came in and he didn't get on his knees and apologize. He took responsibility, and in taking responsibility and accountability for what he'd done and who he was, that was forgiveness. And we have a relationship that's I never dreamt I could have as good with my son. He's like a brother, better than a brother. I don't have a brother, but we are on. It's just brilliant. And that came because he discovered unconditional love, discovered that what he'd done had been abused. So really, in some ways, the ex is doing a favor to these children, because she's getting them beyond transactional love and into unconditional love. And I know they will make it out the other side, because I pray. I give it to God. So give it to God, because anywhere where there's pain in your life just shows where God's not in control, that you are. So if I've had pain with some of the things that have happened and it's been in me and I've been, I've just said, God, I give it to you. And I keep giving it to him until I feel free of it. Because anywhere there's pain in your life, you're in control and not God. And when you're in control, you're going to make a mess because it's your control that got you here, right? It's your control that got you here. Oh, no, it's somebody else's fault. No, it's yours. It's not fault. It's not about fault. It's about responsibility. Your actions got you where you are. You chose to be with the person you were with. You chose to have children with them. Now all of a sudden, they're the worst person in the world. No, that just goes to your character and shows that you're the one unprepared to take responsibility for the actions of what you've done in the past and what you're currently doing. Man up, woman up, walk through it. If you're in a bad relationship, you blame the ex, or the person you want to leave. You put yourself there, take responsibility, and if you need to, get yourself out of there. It's not somebody else's job, it's your job, and you give it to God. So anyway, keep going. Find those cracks, as I say, the little things, the little glimmers of hope, and follow those.